Hey everybody, welcome to Review with Me, your review guide of shows, movies, and everything in between. Be sure to click the like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get on with this review. Hello, welcome back to another review. I am your host Maxine, and we are reviewing episode 10, season 3 of And Just Like That. Let's get into the big news that just came out today. And that is, and just like that, will be canceled at the end of this season. So last night's episode was episode 10. And according to this article, there will be a 2-part season finale, series finale, I should say. So I'm assuming there'll just be 12 episodes for this season, and that'll wrap up the whole show as the finale. As the finale. Now, are we upset? Are we surprised? I think this needed to be done. According to this article here, Michael Patrick King, who is the creator of the show, he announced that this was going to happen, basically saying that this was planned, right? This is not something that was suddenly canceled and they just have to figure out and write the ending real quick. Apparently, this was planned, and he felt like season 3 was a wonderful place to stop the Sex and the City revival series. And he also said that he and Sarah Jessica Parker held off of announcing the news until now because we didn't want the world final to overshadow the fun of watching the season. I don't know if I believe this. I think, and maybe it could just be my own theory, but I feel like the backlash, the incessant backlash of this show, season after season, I think it finally got to Michael Patrick King. I think it finally got to Sarah Jessica Parker. I know she says so much that she doesn't watch her shows or her movies back. She doesn't, like, she's not really in the conversation like that. She's not one of those actresses who is going to watch with you in live time and tweet along with you, right? She's not one of those, according to what she says consistently. And she said this recently on Andy Cohen's show, Watch What Happens Live. But I feel like they are aware of the hate that this show has been receiving. This show has been receiving hate after hate after hate that is almost like, well, I mean, I know we hate this show. Let's just still get together. Like, it's almost like one of those things, right? Like, yeah, I can't stand this show. Yeah, the writing sucks. And yeah, we have communities upon communities hate watching this show. But you know what? I'm still gonna tune in though, because I wanna commiserate. I want to commiserate. And so I think Michael Patrick King, again, this is my theory. These are my thoughts alone. I don't know any factual details, but I think he wants to preserve, as well as Sarah Jessica Parker, I think they want to preserve the legacy, the classic that is Sex and the City. So he feels like if he were to continue and just like that, it's going to muddy the show even further. I honestly feel like they muddy the show after season 1, during season 1, I should say. When they killed off Big, that was it for me. I felt like that was so offensive. And the way that Carrie has went about in season 3 to act as if Big never existed, as if that was a mistake. What if Big was a big mistake? I thought that was so insulting. So insulting. Like, come on. Okay, you love this man. You were devastated when he passed. And now all of a sudden he's a big mistake. Ooh, pun intended. No, you was a big mistake. You was. You. Anyway, that is the breaking news. But let's go ahead and review this episode of this final one of the last episodes of this whole franchise, and we could finally put Sex in the City, and Just Like That, all the movies, we could finally put that away and leave it in the closet. We don't have to keep talking about it. We could go back to nostalgia lane, right? We could watch the old episodes, but we don't have to revive it anymore. It's done. It's done. And I think this is a testament to how things need to be moving forward with other shows as well. You know, there was a time when there was a resurgence of all these old, loved, classic shows, right? Full House, Fuller House, That's So Raven, and Raven's House, I think that's what it's called. And yes, it still gave a lot of I guess the writing for those shows was still significantly better than the writing for And Just Like That. But still, I think there's a laziness to just reviving what worked before. Like, come on. But anyway, let's get into it, child. That is all. That's what I wanted to tell you all about that part. Let's discuss this episode. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to continue doing it as I did previously because that is most convenient for me. So I'm going to just show you guys some screenshots from different parts of this episode and we'll walk through it together. So we're opened with Duncan just chilling inside Carrie's home. Carrie's home that is now decorated, that is now furnished, that is finally furnished. And we also see, I just noticed this now actually, the table. Look at the table, y'all. Something's different. I wonder if she gave it back to Aiden. Like, here, take your money. I don't know. Like, take your money, finally buy your kid some Adderall. I don't know. But we finally see here this table has been changed, a more suitable, more functional table. And I'm actually happy with this. The table previously, I did not like it. I thought it was too rigid. I feel like this home now looks warm, looks cozy. The rugs definitely help with that. Just the furnishing altogether, from the decor, from the lamps, from the rugs, everything looks so much better. And I'm sad that it took this long, but we understand now why it needed to, right? It needed to because she was waiting for Aiden to finally make his move and stay with her and for it to finally work out. And when it didn't, she had to just finally move on. And you see this exemplified in her furniture, So that's pretty cool. Okay, so they're getting along even more. We see a connection deepening between them, but we only see it so far on the surface of being writing partners. Carrie says later on in this episode that she's never had a writing partner before. What? You've been a writer for over 20 years. You never had a writing partner? That sounds so strange to me. I feel like all writers at some point they have had writer partners or writing partners, right? Maybe I'm not well versed in that, like in the professional sense, but I just feel like you have some type of writing partner. Anyway, so there's a vibe between them. There's no denying that. They're drinking scotch together. Like, why are we drinking together if we just writing partners, huh? That's my opinion. But anyway, we jump into this scene, child. This scene, I don't know what to make of it. Okay, so Brady is presenting his cooking skills to his parents and they're thoroughly impressed. They're like, wow, you're really using the oven. That's amazing. But then he breaks some news to them. Not only did he say that he wants to return to studies and he recently enrolled himself to the culinary arts, he actually accidentally got someone who he was casually hooking up with. He got the woman pregnant. And the only way he found out about it was he saw her and her stomach was obviously protruding and she couldn't hide it. So she let him know right in that moment, hey, this is your child. This is your child. But apparently she also said to him, I don't want you in this child's life. I don't want to see you. I don't want nothing from you. Just letting you know I'm carrying your child. So Steve over here is going crazy. This man is about to lose it. Okay. Miranda is clearly upset as well. But Steve is really going crazy. He's talking about, you're going to ruin your life. Look what you did. You already ruined your life. You already ruined your life. You finally decided to go back to school, and now you tell us this. You're ruining your life, you know? And a part of me was actually happy to see this response coming from parents towards their son who happens to get a woman pregnant, right? Because often we see this reaction towards a daughter who's presenting to her parents, hey, I'm pregnant, right? Hey, I'm with child. So it's pretty comforting. I guess comfort, I don't know, comforting is a word, but it was just pretty refreshing. I felt like it was like, okay, yeah, get this son. He's irresponsible. He's stupid. You should have worn a condom, you idiot. And though he's not a teenager, right? He's not underage. He's 20 years old. He'll figure it out, right? I still appreciate this level of disappointment that Steve expressed here. I really do. I really do. I think it is appropriate. I think it really sets the tone that, hey, we didn't have this hope and this dream for you to be a parent, especially to a child whose mother wants nothing to do with you. We don't want that for you. And this circled back to a moment back in the Sex and the City days when Miranda was pregnant with Brady and she was about to abort this kid. She was about to kill this baby. Okay. And Steve was aware that she was feeling conflicted about this pregnancy. And he really wants to keep the baby. I'm trying to remember, but I think I'm recollecting it correctly. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But that was a big contention in their relationship at that time, especially since they weren't really together. It was a very weird time. So Steve is seeing this as a replay of the past, right? Now I have this son who's a father of a child whose mother doesn't really want him in the child's life. And it just feels like a different version of the same thing. Anyway, they go to a whole blow up, so much so that Brady leaves. No one's eating the food. And I'm looking at the plate. I'm like, damn, that plate looks good. I'm looking at the plate and I'm like, damn, that plate looks delicious. Okay. Run it over here. Okay. So let's get to our next scene here. So this moment, y'all, did this moment remind you guys of a music video from one of the best female Black groups ever? Who am I talking about? Destiny's Child. Y'all remember that video? Emotions. It's just emotions taking me over. I swear they reference this moment. Okay? That music video. Please go ahead and go to YouTube and check it out real quick. Let me see if I can just show you guys a quick photo, because I'm telling you, there is a reference here. Anyway, Beyonce. I'm crying. Y'all can look it up. I'm not gonna. Let me just share it real quick. Hold on. It's right here. I don't want to play the video because I don't know, but this part. Okay, just look at the top video. This is what I'm talking about. Just 3 vertical screens of different scenarios that's happening. I mean, we don't see them at the end coming together, right? We don't see Beyonce appearing and bleaching the man's clothes in the bathtub. But the point still stands, okay? The point still stands. So she's letting them know, yeah, Brady got somebody pregnant. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Miranda is trying to understand or trying to figure out, is this your baby, Brady? Is this your baby? Because from the sound of it, y'all casually hooked up twice, maybe 3 times. It was a drunken night. It sounds like she's a whore, Brady. It sounds like she's a whore. That's what Miranda's saying. Brady's super offended here. He's like, what makes you say that? Because of what you said? Because of the casualness of it all. But you know what? This moment kind of brought me to, oh, wow. Despite Miranda being this later in life lesbian, and despite this show being woke in those ways, they still have those traditional embedded values, right? Like there's still this mindset of, well, if you're having casual sex, that means you're a whore, right? That means you can't even collect in your mind who was the last man you had sex with to determine that he's the father of your child, right? Like it just the juxtaposition is crazy. So she's letting them know, yada yada yada. I'm trying not to show this part too much, but yeah, there's a little sex scene between Jeppe and Anthony. From that moment though, we learned that Jeppe invites Anthony to his home because Anthony's apartment is being evacuated. So now they're in Giuseppe's home. Jeppe has his roommate who I initially thought was going to be a young college age student, right? We find out that it's actually an older man, but Giuseppe's under the impression that, not even under the impression, he was told by him that he's asexual. We learn later on in this episode, I wasn't going to jump right into that part because I can't really show you that scene, that this roommate has an affection, to say the least, an affection for Jeppe, so much so that he created a doll, a ventriloquist doll after him who looks just like Jeppe, and he's jacking off to that doll. Okay, he's jacking off to that. You know what I mean? He's jacking off to that doll. Okay, pick up what I'm putting down. So we got another scene yet again from LTW, always busy, always running around, sweating, looking stressed. What are you doing? I just want to know, what are you so stressed about? Why is your stress management so off the charts that you don't have a good system created to have time for your family? There's a point in this episode when her daughter says, well, you're never around to watch our little gerbil, because apparently she has to have this gerbil, this rodent. Okay, so rodent, for some time they have to have this rodent, and of course the rodent is in a cage, but the daughter, being this 12-year-old kid, she decides to let the rodent out, and now it's walking around, roaming around their huge apartment. LTW is upset. She lashes out on her daughter, said, how could you be so stupid? And look, I don't want a rodent roaming around my home either. But Lisa Todd Wexley, relax. Like, the way that she reacted, I felt like it was a lot of misplaced anger. We get to a scene with Herbert, and he's trying to console her, letting her know, look, you're human. Okay, you had a slip, right? You spoke, you had a human moment, right? You had these range of emotions. But still, I just feel like LTW definitely overreacted. It wasn't that deep. I don't want a rodent roaming around either, but it's not that serious. We finally get to a scene with Charlotte, and she is trying to have this Zoom meeting with this Reiki healer lady, someone who she got appointed to because she won her in an auction. But this lady is totally she doesn't care about her job. Like, she doesn't care that this job actually can be healing to those who want healing, right? So she's on the Zoom call, but her camera's off. She's having an attitude. They eventually have to reschedule because Charlotte could not get a quiet moment in this damn house. She has renovations happening. Her son, well, what's his name? Rock, her non-binary child Rock is tap dancing right outside her door with LTW's son, talking about she got a role at the play. What? If you don't play your ass in your room, you don't have to do that right outside of my. It was so ridiculous. Like, everything was annoying. You have Harry watching TV with the volume at the maximum level, talking about, oh, well, I can't hear. There's construction going on right outside. Put your headphones on. Everyone needs to wear headphones. But whatever, we're making a scene. So we move on. Sema and Adam, they seem to be moving and grooving. Adam introduces Sema to his home. We learned that this is a rent control home, so he actually pays $900 for rent. I'm like, shit, move me in. But it's rent control because it was passed down along his family. His mother passed, and he has a plant that reminds him of his mom. Basically explain that his mom is this plant. Sema feels grateful. This scene doesn't look like she does. But her eyes are just super expressive. But there's you could feel the growth between them. You could feel they are investing into each other emotionally, and it's a pretty nice sight to see. Sema and Carrie are eating here, or having a drink actually. Sema rehired, I guess she's getting business well enough that she rehired her driver, and she's getting this drink with Carrie. Carrie's talking to Sema about how her writing with Duncan is going really well, and she really appreciates it. She likes that he sees her for her mind and her way of thinking, and like, he compliments that. And oftentimes she always gets complimented in previous relationships or previous suitors. They only saw her physically. They only see her beauty, her charm, X, Y, and Z, but they don't see her intellect. They don't compliment her writing. And I wonder, is she just a prisoner of the moment? Right? Sometimes when we get into new relationships, we look at the guy and we're like, no one has ever been so kind to me like this man right here. This is my person. This is my man. He's the kindest, thoughtful, like, he's all these things. And no one has ever in my history of dating has been that way towards me. When it's like, you said that for your last dude, though. Right? You was happy your last dude was the kindest, the most thoughtful, the most generous, right? Because I could have sworn that there was a scene back in Sex and the City days, even early in And Just Like That days, of John, Mr. Big, complimenting Carrie for her writing, showing up to her writing presentation or her readings at different coffee shops or wherever she was, And he was standing in the back. He was clapping for her. He was congratulating her. Like, look, sure, this may be the first case of you seeing someone at this point professionally, but seeing another man who happens to be handsome, who happens to have a vibe, right? Y'all have an unspoken vibe. It may be your first time having this type of connection with a man who's also a writer. But I think that's just because y'all are in that same field, y'all are in that same headspace. Doesn't mean that the previous suitors you've had didn't appreciate your intellect. I don't know. I feel like she was being a little dramatic. No one has ever complimented me on my. Well, are you leading with your intellect? Carrie, are you leading with your brain, or do you always lead with sex? That's the difference. Because if you're always leading with your sexual prowess, your sexual abilities and your beauty and your jokes, right? Carrie's quick with the joke, but she doesn't talk about her intellect or her writing pursuits or her muses when it comes to writing. She doesn't talk about that with her men. Anyway, so Sema's trying to get into what Carrie really feels about Duncan. Like, is there something there? Is there more there? Carrie being semantical princess, talking about, why does it have to be more? It could be less. Girl, you know what I mean. Is there something between y'all that's beyond writing? Bitch. Like, talking about, why does it have to be more? It could be less. Carrie, you know what Sema means. Girl, doing her best to avoid the reality that, yeah, there's something there. So we get to the scene. Miranda and Charlotte decide to visit impromptu, unplanned. Well, it was planned, but incognito, I should say. They decide to visit the salon where Brady's baby mama works. They assume she was a hairstylist. Come to find out, she's just a shampoo girl. So Miranda's getting her hair washed by this woman who looks to be middle-aged, right? I'm thinking, who did Brady hook up with? Miranda's making small talk, and she gets offended. She gets offended because there's a point when Miranda asks her, well, how do you know this is the dad, right? How did she even end up asking her that? I'm trying to remember. But there's a point where she's asking, because, okay, the baby mama, she's talking about, I'm so sorry, I've been farting. It's hard to be pregnant and not pass gas because all of this, fluid or whatever. And she says, oh, congratulations. I bet you and the father, something like that, are happy, something like that. She said, well, he's not really into astrology, or because she said she was going to abort the baby, but decides not to because she learned that the baby would have been born as a Libra, and that made her stay with child. That was enough for you? Okay. That was enough for you to change your mind. Okay. I gotta have a Libra baby. I gotta. Like, girl. Anyway, Miranda said something of the sort of, well, how do you know if he's the father? I forgot how she even came about saying that. Miranda said it I would have slapped her too, right? I would have been upset as well. This woman, not only was she washing her hair just naturally as a shampoo girl, but she stopped washing her hair. She said, why would you even ask me that? And then she sprays the water down her face. Of course, it spills down to her shirt. And Miranda apologizes and says, look, I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your future baby girl or baby boy. And this baby mama responds, oh, you're so binary. And she walks off. Girl, is this my son's child? or nah? That's what I want to know. Is this my son's child? I need a DNA test before I commit. So we get back to Duncan in the strolling around Carrie's house, up and through the doors. He's just walking around freely. He walks upstairs because Carrie's taking a minute to come downstairs with her additional copies or pages for her book. He helps her with the printer because she was struggling with that. And of course, he's looking around. He's very fast. Like everything about Carrie, he's in awe of. He loves her style. He loves how she decorates. He's complimenting everything. And I think this is again showing us, I guess, the stark difference between previous suitors in Carrie's life, men who had, like Aiden, for example. Aiden will get just like, why do you need a glittery shoe? Who needs glitter after 5 years old? Like, that's something that Aiden would say or have said. So Aiden has shown examples of him not really being impressed by Carrie just as she is. So now we see Duncan, who is impressed by Carrie as she is, right? Carrie may take up smoking again because Duncan's a smoker and she's not with Aiden anymore, who doesn't like smoke. So she may be like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little smoke real quick. So I say all that to say, they are purposely showing us how much Duncan is so impressed by Carrie just as she is. He does a little funny bit with her glittery shoe and invites her to this party the following week. And it's a publishing party. He invites her to it. She initially hesitates, but she agrees to go. Okay, we talk about this. Lisa Todd Wexley spazzes out on her daughter. Okay, let's get to this part, child. Sema is back at her lover's apartment. She goes for a smoke. Of course, she has to open the window that has the plant that represents Adam's deceased mother. Even though there was a well-suited, well-accessible window right next door. Like right next to that window, there was a window right there that had no obstruction, that had no blockage. You could have easily opened that window. Y'all notice that? Girl, you had to struggle to open this window with this damn pot. Why is there a pot right there? It's not a good placement for it anyway. So she opens this window, and of course, what happens? The pot falls through. The mother has been dead or killed twice. Now, Sema is panicked. She tells Adam. Adam, clearly in this scene right here, he's panicked, but it's not to the point where he is so upset or offended, right? Of course, he's initially like, wait, what happened? Oh, like, it's like a, aw, man, but it's not, okay, this is the end of us type of aw, man. Even though Sema feels like it is, so much so that she decides to ignore his calls and texts because she feels embarrassed. So we get to this scene between Carrie and Charlotte. Carrie allows Charlotte to use her home since it's a quiet place. And Charlotte could finally have her therapy, well, her Reiki, whatever session it is, woo-woo session it is. Carrie tells Charlotte about this party that she's going to attend that Duncan invited her to. Then she talks about how she was hesitant to go because of Miranda. Charlotte's like, why? What does Miranda have to do with it? Carrie explains, well, at your party, Miranda was making the insinuation that there was something going on between me and Duncan. Charlotte asks, is there something going on? Then Carrie gets defensive and she said, no, why does everybody think? Because there is, Carrie. Because if you reacting like that, that means there clearly is something going on. You're not comfortable to share that, and that's okay. But in this exchange here, we see Carrie saying that she admitted finally, but she didn't admit this to Miranda, and I want her to admit it to Miranda and apologize to Miranda. But she admits this to Charlotte and says, I was defensive towards Miranda and I reacted to her defensively, right? Like I overreacted and I kind of lashed out on her. And then when Charlotte in this moment asks, is there something between you and Duncan? Carrie overreacted as well. She reacted with defensiveness again, but her level of defensiveness wasn't to the extreme as it was towards Miranda. So she immediately said, I'm being defensive with you, and I shouldn't have to be. Like, I shouldn't react like that. Charlotte eventually says, it's up to you, right? It's on you. If you want to explore whatever it is with Duncan, then that's on you, right? You did your best with Aiden. It didn't work out. Now we're here. And Charlotte was very kind of matter of fact, like, it's on you. You try your best with Aiden. That shit didn't work out. And now you're here. It's on you if you want to explore it with Duncan or not. And she even said, F Miranda. F Miranda. Why Miranda got to get astray? Why Miranda got to catch a stray when she was right all along? But F Miranda. F y'all. Can someone have some justice for Miranda? So we finally get to Charlotte having her sit down with this Reiki healer. Still, she is giving her attitude. This Reiki healer is giving Charlotte attitude, talking about, okay, well, you got 12 minutes left. Charlotte, I would have had an attitude if I was Charlotte. I'd be like, okay, well, you know what, bitch? Never mind. I don't want to do this shit anyway. I don't believe in what you got going on. You don't have your camera on. F you. You could be in the background jacking off. I don't want to be on this call with you. But Charlotte, still leading with compassion, still leading with her heart, I find to be actually commendable. Like, dang, maybe I should take a book out of Charlotte or a page out of Charlotte's book. I be moving around phrases. Maybe I should take a book out of Charlotte. No, take a page out of Charlotte's book. Anyway, so Charlotte breaks down and she talks about how she wasn't allowed to feel her emotions or express her emotions when Harry was fighting prostate cancer. And now that he is in remission and things seems to be good right now, she is just kind of reconnecting with her emotions and she just breaks down. And with her vulnerability, that led to this therapist being vulnerable as well. She turned her camera on and she gave Charlotte her undivided time and more time on the clock. So that was nice. That was nice to see. We get to the scene. Sema, like I said, was ignoring Adam because she was embarrassed that she knocked his mother's plant. You know what I mean? This was actually a cute moment. We see Adam saying, look, I was able to retrieve as many leaves as I can. And I know you're not a plant person, but that's why you have me. That's why you have me. I could water it. And that's so sweet. I thought that was a very sweet moment. So remember, Herbert has been running for council, office, Stuco, I don't know, some shit. In this elevator scene, everyone's rooting for him. Daddy, daddy, daddy. And I was hoping he was going to win, but we come to find out, they come back upstairs. Everyone's drained because he didn't win. You see mascara running down Lisa's face. So obviously she was crying. Then the mother talking about, oh, why would you run knowing that you could have lost? What kind of advice is that? You don't guarantee anything in this life, right? You could hope for the best. You could be in the lead and you think you have this in the ballpark, right? and you still lose. That's life. Things don't always go as planned. I feel like the mother could have been encouraging, but she's a witch, a winch, a wench, all of that. The wife here, Lisa, she was the only one who was encouraging and said, look, you did a great job. You did it for the people, and you should be proud of yourself. You had a human moment. It's okay. So what? You lost. Okay. So I think it was a nice scene seeing them comfort each other, vice versa, throughout this episode. And I guess it's just showing us that, oh, their marriage is back on the priority list, right? They're going to be there for each other. Marrying who? Marrying who? Mekhi Brooks who? Mekhi, I would have still loved to see him though. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. This is a 2-part season finale, series finale coming up. So they're probably wrapping up that storyline. Carrie finally attends. Initially, she was going to wear something super conservative, which she still looked good in. But you know what? She changed her mind. I'm going to wear this Vivienne Westwood outfit. I think Vivienne Westwood seems to be a sponsor for this show, at least for this season, because I've been seeing people talk about different outfits that Carrie has worn that is by Vivienne Westwood. So that seems to be some type of collaboration there. Everyone seems to be so impressed by Carrie. She's a big deal in New York City. She's a big deal, but Duncan was not aware of that. So he is even more fascinated by her. He thinks she's wonderful, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to kind of skate by that scene. Y'all seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Anthony invites Jeppe to move in with him. Initially, he says, no, it'll be too early in our relationship. He walks down the hallway and he sees the door open to his asexual roommate's room. And he sees the roommate jacking off to a ventriloquist that looks just like Jeppe. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move in with you, Anthony. Never mind. I'm gonna go ahead and take your offer. I'm gonna go ahead. So we learned that this woman here was Duncan's publisher. I think she may still be. I don't know. I don't remember. But she was also his ex-wife. Okay. Well, she is his ex-wife. So she was also married to him. I don't know for how long, but this is giving us the face to the ex-wife that he referenced back in the last episode when he was talking to Aiden. So Carrie's trying to she's just kind of playing with his balls here, saying, oh, you and the publicist, huh? Were you late for a chapter or something like that? This must be like writer's joke, right? A writer's war. So we get to this scene. Duncan kind of lays his cards down. He says, look, you're wonderful. You're wonderful. Like everything about you, from your closet to your shoes to the reception that you get from everyone, you are the bomb.com. And I want you in my bed. Okay? That's what he says here. That's what he says verbatim. That's what he says. Carrie says, so she's trying to play coy, right? You know, Carrie. Well, you're a mess. You're a mess. Carrie, if you don't go in this man's house, he's about to leave to go to London next week, apparently. Okay, that's what they said in the last episode. Well, no, in the last scene, actually. Last scene, we learned from the ex-wife talking about, well, when you come back to UK, you're gonna, whatever she said. So we learned that and we already knew this. He was only going to be in New York for a short stint. He's only in New York for 6 months out of the year. So we're assuming that 6 months have passed at this point or is about finished. And we also learned from the beginning of this episode that time went by. So maybe 2 seasons went by from the last episode. And at that point, we obviously saw Carrie's home was furnished. Anyway, we get to the scene. Carrie plays coy. She says, well, you're a mess. And then she says, you're not a mess. You're wonderful too. He asks her if she wants to join him in his home inside. Like if you want to come downstairs with me, come on. And he makes it very clear. I'm done for writing. I'm done with writing for the night. I'm done. I'm putting the books away. The loads of paper, the stacks of paper is put away. I want you in my bed tonight. Do you get it? Am I clear? That's what he was saying to her. She says, she kind of just like shakes her head gently. This is Carrie shaking her head gently. Carrie, you know you want some of that British. You know you want it. So she decides, you know what? Yeah, I do. I do want it. What am I thinking? She says, Duncan. She goes down the steps like Cinderella because it kind of zoomed into her shoes. She goes on the steps. She goes on the steps. They kiss. I wasn't convinced with the kiss, y'all. I don't know. I was not convinced with the kiss. I think there seems to be a lack of physical chemistry, despite him being very attractive and those dreamy eyes of his. Maybe it was just a bad scene right here, but I didn't think this posture, I didn't think her way of kissing him. And I know Carrie, well, Sarah Jessica Parker, she's very peculiar with the amount of sexual scenes or the quality of sexual scenes that she shows. So I maybe there's something to that with this, but this right here, I wasn't convinced. I was not convinced. It was just like she was doing this. Girl, if you don't open your mouth and give that tongue, open your mouth and give him that tongue. So immediately, of course, what do we see? Them in bed, him shirtless, Carrie with the bra. Girl, can we see your titty for once? Carrie, can we see it for once? The show is going to wrap up. The whole series is done. Can you just show us one areola? Carrie Bradshaw, please. We saw Charlotte. We've been seeing Miranda. We saw 2 dicks by this point. Carrie, can you show us your areola? Please. He's asking, well, how is this going to work? You know, I'm going back to London. I think she just says, I don't know. I don't remember what did she say here? Please let me know in the comments. It just kind of leaves it up for assumption, whatever will be type of thing. I didn't see, and I don't typically like to watch what's to come. I like to be surprised. I like to see it in the moment. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's pretty much it, y'all. It wraps up at this point. They're vibing, and that is all. Okay. Let me know what you think about this episode of And Just Like That, season 3, episode 10. What do you think about this being the end of Sex and the City and Just Like That altogether? Do you feel like it is finally, it is in due time? It should have been happened? Yes, that's my answer. That's my answer. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next time. Be sure to subscribe. That is your way of supporting this channel. Subscribe. Okay, bye.